It was 1974, and Babs Walters hit the lowest point of her life. She wrote letters to her little children, explaining why she was leaving them. She loved them, but she wanted something better for them. When four major life events converged, she thought suicide was the only and best solution. The average person can keep a secret for about 47 hours. I thought that was really interesting. I did not know that. That's good to know. Babs Walters held the worst kind of secret for nearly 70 years. Beginning at the age 11, she suffered childhood sexual abuse at the hands of her father. He said children should be seen and not heard. And that defined her childhood and groomed her to silence. But despite the cycle of generational trauma and abuse that haunted her childhood, Bab Walters eventually had a life-changing realization. We are not what happens to us. We are the meaning and purpose we give to what happens to us. Wow. Bab's story will bring awareness and hope to many who are struggling with abuse and hopelessness.
Have you ever felt like giving up, quitting, throwing in the towel? Welcome to Never Ever Give Up Hope featuring Carol Graham. She's an author, health coach, and motivational speaker. Backed into a corner multiple times in her life, Carol shares with you stories on how she overcame some of the toughest obstacles a person can go through in life, but refused to give up hope. Rather than admit defeat, an opportunity was presented, and it involves each and every one of you. Carol will feature spectacular guests who will share their messages of hope, encouragement, and their inspiration to prove why life's adversities only make you stronger. And now, welcoming the host of the show, here's Carol Graham.
As a domestic violence and sexual abuse survivor, Babs Walters has devoted much of her adult life to raising, understanding, and awareness of the long-term effects of generational trauma, breaking the chain. She has a master's in counseling human relations and has served on an Harassment Investigation Committee for 13 years. She was recently interviewed for Brave Voices on the U.S. Library of Congress. She has much to share with us today on Never Ever Give Up Hope. Welcome, Babs.
Thank you so much, Carol.
All right, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Well, my story, just like everybody else's, started a little bit before I was born. My parents knew each other from the neighborhood, but it wasn't until they were both sent to the same reform school for juvenile delinquents that they really got to know each other. They were both products of a divorced home, and they had both acted out in ways that their mothers couldn't control. So they were able to be submitted into this reformatory that was supposed to rehabilitate them and send them back out into the world to be healthful, helping, healing people. Unfortunately, it didn't work all that well, and I was raised in a war zone. Not Afghanistan or Iran, but in any place that we happen to live, Carol.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there were landmines and IEDs all over the place. So basically, what you had is my dad was sent away because he had built a bomb in high school and he had endangered all the students and teachers there.
Ah,
And he had some anger management issues. And my mother was sent away for being promiscuous. And basically, anytime things got too tough for her, she disappeared. So This became their life together, and they were able to run away and get married, but not until a month after I was born, which created, you can picture two teenagers who were already troubled with this baby.
Right.
And my father got drafted. And whoever made the decision, he was trained to be a sniper and to kill with one shot directly. So he's away for a year and a half, and he comes back to find my mother and me. But my mother has replaced him. There's another man in the apartment.
Oh dear.
So this became their dance for 72 years. They stayed
Oh,
married for 72 years. Her disappearing with men, him with his anger and his ability to kill. We always had guns in the house. When he passed away at the age of 93, he had 9 guns in the house. He lived in a community that was gated and had security. Why does a man living alone need 9 guns? I
right.
can't answer that. So you can imagine this was not a healthy place for kids to grow up.
No kidding.
Yeah. And I think that one of the most amazing things for me was in writing my memoir, and maybe you can relate to this. I had to make a list of the turning points in my life in order to be able to tell my story. And I saw that there were a number of places that I made decisions or life made a decision for me. And those things stayed with me, some of them long after overdue, and some of them really helped me make it through life. But I remember that my mother took me for a walk one day when I was 5 years old and didn't tell me where we were going. We went into a building. She opened the door, pushed me in, and closed the door and left. And that was the first day of kindergarten.
Oh,
And I had no idea where I was or what I was doing. And the woman in the front of the room said to me, go hang your sweater up in the closet, sweetie. And I went into the closet, and all the hooks in the front were taken. So I walked down the side, and she asked one of the boys in the back of the room to close the doors. And I had a decision to make in that minute to call out and draw more attention to my, what I thought was my sorry self, or just wait it out. So I sat down on the floor by a grate in the bottom of the closet, and I
oh,
watched this whole thing transpire. And I made decisions as a 5 year old that I have to laugh about sometimes, but that really determined that I couldn't count on my mother,
wow.
that I needed to be the adult in the house, that she was not anybody who would take care of me. And as life went on, we got to see that more and more. So I think you mentioned before, Carol, that I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse or incest, big taboo word, but I didn't know what was happening to me in the early 50s. Sex education in school was hygiene class with a
Right.
black and white movie of birds and bees pollinating flowers. And
Right.
there was no way to connect that to what was happening to me. But I think that one of the things that kept me safe, but kept me in a way that I could escape, was I loved to read. And I would get lost in books. People could be talking to me. I could see their lips moving and I wouldn't even hear the words. And when I ran out of things to read, I would pick up the encyclopedia because that's all we had in the house.
Oh,
And one day I'm sitting there, and after the Incas of Peru and incense, I found the word incest. Now, my mind as an 11-year-old, people who write encyclopedias are experts and educated people, and they told me what was happening. Their definition was incest is sexual relations between two people too closely related by blood to marry. Well, I
oh,
was dumbfounded. I just heard it in your voice too. I mean, here I'm 11 years old. My father is having sex with me. He tells me he'll kill me if I tell anyone. He's already hurt me because he's beaten us for years. He's got these guns all over the place, which he makes sure are out there right next to us. And I'm thinking to myself, I must be all alone in this world. There couldn't be another human being who feels the way that I feel right now, that these people are telling me what's happening to me and they have no idea. So I make another decision as an 11-year-old that someday I would write a book and some other little girl wouldn't feel all alone like I did in that moment. Well, obviously, it's taken me such a long time that I don't know that I'm speaking to little girls anymore. But I am grateful that I've had this opportunity and the luxury to write my story.
As you're talking, I am thinking that was then and this is now. And yet, even though there's an awareness now, it's still happening. And
Well, it
that's,
did continue to happen for a very long time. You sound like somebody who knows about this kind of trauma. Um, Unfortunately, the people that I sought in my life, the people that I was attracted to, were based on the role models that I had at home. So there was no way that I could go into super healthy relationships given where I had come from. And so I made decisions that were not necessarily in my own interest, but they took me where I needed to go. So I think it's the wicked thing because I know you, I have been changed for good. Yeah, the people, everybody that was in my life brought me to a lesson that brought me to the next place. I just
oh.
had a lot of lessons to learn.
When you were going through this at any stage, was guilt involved?
Guilt was a big part of all my adult life, I would think. As a child, the only thing that I felt was that I must be a bad person because
Mm,
why is this happening to me and it's not happening to anyone else? Um, we moved around a lot. I didn't understand why, but we moved every couple of years. And I made a friend in one of the new schools. We were 14, and one day she grabbed me and said, I have a terrible family secret I have to tell you. Meet me after school in our secret hiding place. We had this place where we would go to smoke where nobody could see us, um, when cigarettes were 25 cents a pack and nobody knew how bad they were for you. So I was so excited, Carol. I can't tell you. I thought to myself, oh my God, maybe this is a secret initiation and all girls go through it, but we're not allowed to talk about it. And my friend is going to tell me. Well, of course, her secret was completely different. We were not really able to do anything for each other with our secrets except to love each other. And she was the first person that I ever spoke to about it. I didn't have much success with the three people that I spoke to after that. One was a teacher, one was a rabbi, and one was a social worker. The teacher tried to have sex with me. The rabbi said a Jewish father would never do those things. And the social worker told me the same thing as the rabbi, but she said she could help me because she would make an appointment and we could work on my vivid imagination.
oh my goodness. How did that make you feel?
Well, the bigger problem is right before I went to see her and the rabbi, I discovered that my father was having sex with my younger sister. And you want
Oh,
to talk about guilt. That's basically what drove me the rest of my life because I had so disassociated when I left home that it never occurred to me what was he going to do when I wasn't there. And when I found out she was 16, I tried to adopt her and get her out of the house. And that's when I went to seek the rabbi and the social worker. I thought those were the people that would really be able to help me. And both of them refused. So my sister ran away at the same time, basically duplicated my parents' life. So I felt even more guilty because I realized that as horrible as it was for me, I could have prevented it from happening to her.
are you in any kind of contact with her now?
I am, but I have to tell you that when I was writing the book, um, and you'll notice on the cover of the book, there's a picture of two little girls skipping on the beach. That's me and my sister. Um, she wanted no part of the book. As a matter of fact, she threatened to sue me because she would prefer that the world doesn't know about us and our history. And I invited her into mediation 4 months before the book came out. And we decided, this was a very easy decision, Carol. We decided that we each voted for a different candidate in the last presidential election. And there was no way that she could convince me or that I could convince her. So we just decided we were going to stay in our own lanes. The book is off the table. We do not discuss it.
Oh,
The work that I'm doing is off the table. We do not discuss it. As much as I would like to say to you, gee, I wish she could do this with me. Our doubled voice would have so much more power, but
right.
it's just not what she wants.
Interesting. Wow. This is making an impact on me. Like you said, you can hear it in my voice. And
Mhm.
even though, no, I was not a subject of parental abuse, however, I was marital. And I think it doesn't matter what kind of abuse we go through, it's still abuse and it has an effect. So, my question to you is fast forward to today. How did what happened to you in the past still affect you today?
Well, that is a very good question, actually. I think that in no small part, the disassociation was really what saved me, but
Okay.
also what held me back from finding out who was underneath here. You know, here I was this 5-year-old in the kindergarten closet making decisions that my mother couldn't be trusted. I knew my father couldn't be trusted. So I was a kid basically without any adult supervision. And I made a lot of decisions that I would not make today. And I think to myself, boy, you took some risk and some chances, you know? But
Mm,
I was learning and I was trying to figure out who I am. And I have to say that I've had a hard time in my life accepting compliments from people.
sure.
Um, I still feel like there's something wrong with me. And 40 years of therapy, and I call myself a self-help junkie. Um, if there's a webinar, a seminar, a workbook, I'm the first one online. I am always striving. One of my therapists said, "You're not a human being, you're a human doing." I mean, it's kind of interesting to see the way I live my life. I observe myself, and I still have plenty of triggers. And the only person who's really at the effect of those triggers is my husband
Mm,
because he's with me day in and day out. Now, he's a boy who grew up with two brothers in a home that was Donna Reed, if anybody's old enough to know that show.
yes. Okay.
The mother cooked the meals, had the family over, the father worked, and the kids went to camp and had ham radios and telescopes and just played with all the kids in the neighborhood in the street. So it couldn't have been a different childhood than mine. And they love to tease each other, these boys. I can't take too much teasing. I think that there's an element of truth
Mm,
in every one of the things that he's trying to be funny about. And boy, do
oh,
I
okay.
get triggered. Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
that is one way that it still impacts me. And the other way, and this is pretty recent, so I'm glad you asked. My daughter has experienced life through my trauma.
Huh,
And this is part of what, you know, you read Break the Chain. Um, this is one of my goals in telling the story is to not have the next generation suffer. Clearly, my parents were hurt people. They didn't just suddenly
right,
become who they were.
right.
And because they didn't take care of their own hurt, they hurt us. I see that my daughter, I told her a terrible story when she was a little girl to, I thought, protect her. I told her I was working with somebody who needed to go away for the weekend and left the grandparents to babysit, and that the grandfather came into the little girl's bedroom at night and started to touch her on her private places. And that so traumatized my daughter. And I was just trying to protect her, but I didn't know any
Right,
better at the time.
right,
I mean, we have resources now. We know people who are working to teach parents and to
right.
keep kids safe. But so there are still things that I'm working on, but I've done a lot of work.
Wow. And your parents, how did you deal with, I'm assuming they both have passed?
Yes, and relatively recently too. In 1974, which was the big perfect storm year for me with all the things going wrong at the same time, my sister demanded that we sit down with my father. And while I didn't want to because I was afraid he was going to kill us, as a matter of fact, I was pretty sure he was going to kill us. Uh, the guilt that you brought up, I had to do that for her. It was the one thing I felt I had to do for her.
Mhm.
And that's when I wrote to my children because I thought they would never see me again. And they were 2 and 6, and I didn't want to leave them wondering what happened to their
Right,
mother
right, right.
if my father killed me. And if he didn't kill me, I was ready to kill myself, and I had made a suicide attempt. Um, but when we confronted him, basically what happened is he told us that he only treated us the way he was treated, that
Oh,
he
wow.
himself had been raped as a child twice, that he was beaten daily, that we were his chattel, like his goats and his cows, and he could do anything he wanted to us. He basically made excuses for everything that he did. He blames my mother for almost who he was. He blamed the reformatory. He blamed his parents. He blamed the school that he was in originally. He blamed his bosses, the people he worked with. He accepted no responsibility. And at the final, he asked my sister and I what we were going to do with him now. Were we going to call the police? Were we going to have him arrested? We were in shock because here we went there thinking we were going to die, and he's crying and slobbering all over the place.
Huh.
And for the first time, I realized how weak he was. And I think that that says something about bullies. Now, if you've been part of a domestic violence situation, you know that just because somebody uses their fists, or there's all kinds of abuse, you don't even need to see
Right.
bruises for some abuse. I think that those are insecure people, and those are people that have to throw their weight around and control the situation and force themselves on people because they are powerless and weak.
Well, we're going to pause for a moment. And when we come back, I would like you to share what tools you can offer the audience for anyone who may be going through this type of situation. And also, we're going to talk about your book. So we'll be right back.
Carol Graham would like to show you the path from misery to miraculous triumph in her fast-paced memoir, Battered Hope. She relates her determination to succeed as someone who experienced one horrendous nightmare after another. Gang raped and left for dead, loss of a child, husband falsely imprisoned, and cancer. Nothing could break her tenacity or faith. No matter what you face, heartache, loss, suffering, or injustice, Carol will illustrate how she became a victor the same way you can. The secret is to never, ever give up hope. Order your copy at Amazon or batteredhope.blogspot.com.
Babs has shared her pain, her tenacity, her struggle, of course, and she has come out as a strong woman, as a strong person, as someone who not only has dealt with what happened to her, but she's helping others deal with what has happened to them. And I know there is a huge part of my audience that is going to relate on many different levels with what she has shared today. So now, Babs, if you would please tell us about the different programs that you are involved in, what you are teaching, etc., and also your book.
Great. Thank you, Carol. Um, I think that the subject of incest or child sexual abuse is really still a taboo subject. It's dark. It's not the kind of thing that people talk about over the dinner table. And I was also warned by my publisher that this may not be a bestseller book, no matter how well you wrote it, because people just don't really want to hear about this. But what I found is that every family that I've come in contact with has secrets. And
Mm,
those secrets don't have to be exactly the same as mine. There may have been an abortion, there may have been a bankruptcy, a family member that was put in a mental institution, talk about a suicide attempt, um, an adoption that nobody talks about until years later. So there are so many secrets. And I've discovered when I speak in person that at least three people will stay afterwards to tell me their secrets because it's an opportunity for them to speak it to somebody they know has been to hell and back and would
mm,
understand.
right.
And um, I sometimes it just breaks me down. So I know how you could be emotional when you hear the pain and suffering that people have had because of the silence.
Yes.
So my goal is to encourage people, if they're ready, to speak. And on my website, I have a checklist, and it's called How to Tell When You're Ready to Tell.
Oh
And
my goodness.
there are three stages. So, sometimes telling just means writing it on a piece of paper, ripping it up, and tossing it in the toilet,
Right, right.
And sometimes telling might mean there's somebody I trust and maybe I'll take a chance with it. And then, of course, there's telling, which is, I can't live with this burden anymore. Keeping a secret is a physical, emotional, and spiritual weight in your body, in your mind, and you carry that with you. The checklist is free for anybody who signs on to the website, but I also think that there are people that want to do some more work that actually like writing this memoir and what a difference it made to me, just writing down all the turning points in my life. So I do teach creative journal writing workshops. I did a 10-week program at a women's residence for drug and alcohol abuse. Um, some of these people were there because they were mandated by the court. Some people were there because their family sent them there. But I have to say that at least 75% of these women were abused in some way, and maybe 40% of them sexually abused. I mean, even on campuses and as teenagers. So there's a lot of pain that needs to heal, and the first step is expressing it. Also on my website, I have an anonymous postcard. This requires nothing more than you to fill out what your secret is without your name. And I post it on the website so that you can check it. Everybody who reaches my website could read them, but it doesn't attribute to you. It's kind of like a God card. And I have a number of articles that I've written. One that was just in Best Health magazine called Learning to Leave, how to plan to leave an abusive relationship. So those are just some of the things that I've been
Okay.
doing lately, but I also do book clubs. And the nice thing about the book club is that people have read the book. So we have a completely different conversation. We talk about how do subjects like this make you feel, and where in your
Mm,
life have you kept a secret? And
hmm.
I actually, because I wrote my memoir as an autobiography for 80 years. I have a half a book that never made it into the book. So, yeah, like my publisher said, nobody wants to read the story of an 80-year-old woman who nobody knows. But so I read in the book for the book clubs, I give them chapters that were not included in the book, so they get a little extra bonus.
Your book is called Facing the Jaguar, a memoir of courage and confrontation. Explain the title.
Well, I have to tell you, my first title was called Sorry, Sis, This Story Must Be Told. But my publisher, who's brilliant, noticed that I had a lot of dream work in my memoir. And every time my father would come to me and I had to leave my body, I would feel myself running in the jungle being chased by a jaguar, and this
Oh,
beast, this beast would be after me. And That's actually a literary technique called a through thread, but I didn't know. I had never written a memoir before. And it shows up a number of times throughout my story. Just shows you how our creative minds work, and we don't even realize how talented we are. And so she came up with the title, but the confrontation was that climax of us sitting with my father and getting his history and the truth. And then I personally met with my mother afterwards, one-on-one, and confronted her and got her take on it.
And how did she respond?
I will give you the bottom line. At least you got away.
That tells it all.
Yes.
Wow. This has been enlightening, to say the least. Encouraging for many. And that's why we're sharing your story. There is a way out. There is help out there. You can get strong and make it through. So thank you so much, Babs, for sharing your story. Is there anything in conclusion that you would like to share with the audience, or anything I might have missed asking you, or anything at all?
Well, I want to say thank you, Carol, for holding the space for my voice and others like it, and listeners who need to hear this message. You're the one who's holding that opening for us. But I do have two messages that I like to leave people with. People frequently ask me, what is it that allows somebody to be resilient and go through the kind of life that you had and come out the other side and be successful and healthy and happy? And I really didn't know the answer to that. So I did some research into resilience. And what I discovered is resilient people find one small thing that is good or right in the middle of the most horrific circumstances. So you think about like Holocaust survivors or people that have had horrible experiences. If you can find one thing and hold on to that. And for me, that it was always about learning. The reading was so important to me. The self-help was so important to me. People resist therapy, but for me, it was learning about myself, and that was important. The second thing that I like to tell people is that healing is not a destination. It's a journey, and it doesn't matter how long it takes you. Just keep going.
That's amazing.
And it doesn't matter how long it takes. Look at how long it took me to write this book.
Thank you so very much for being so raw and sharing your story. And I know that this is going to resonate with many. I thank you, Bab, for sharing your story. It has been, I am sure, encouraging for many to relate, those who related in particular, but also those who may know that they need to help someone else who may be going through this. And the secrets are much more open than they used to be, right?
Yes.
And so that opportunity is for anyone that you may know, or for yourself. You can contact Babs. She has many tools, as she shared, and her book and her website. So we look forward to you connecting with her as well. And thank you, Babs, for being on Never Ever Give Up Hope.
You're welcome, Carol. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Never Ever Give Up Hope, featuring Carol Graham. Did you know that most people succeed because they are determined to? Quitting was never an option. Carol loves your comments and will respond to each one. So please subscribe and review this podcast. A rating of 5 stars would be outstanding and appreciated. Remember, if you are still here, there is always hope.